I also think that we need to participate so that we can reduce the occurrences of systemic racism. It's there. We may not be able to eradicate it, but we can continue to work to build on what the foundation we've created. You represent us and you deliver for us, because we also know that we face obstacles. Who's going to identify and say these people have been doing all this work all this time and they need help? We need help. I want to acknowledge you, although you don't look black, but you've gone through some of the things that we've gone through, either because of your race or because of your mother tongue, your original language, but we have confidence in you that you will be that spokesperson. All of us to please help, come out, make your votes count.
This person came here in 2018. Is Benson in here? Yes, thank
you. Good afternoon, everyone. And that responsibility is your power. 2018, when I came, before I left my country, I'm from Nigeria originally. I was part of the board of an oil and gas company. I was a major stakeholder. At that time, I was a country manager for health, safety, and environment for one of the biggest operations. And when I came in 2018, I felt I made a mistake. And I called back my previous employer. It's a big US company, the second biggest multinational oil and gas servicing company in the world. And I am in Canada, I'm in Alberta. I don't understand why I cannot get a job, I cannot get a transfer with all the referrals. I came with 6 referral letters. And it was still a bit shaky. Towards the end of 2019, I started seeing the difference. Prior to that, we were a group of senior managers. We were 16 that decided to move to Canada. We all came to Alberta. By the end of 2018, 15 of them moved to Ontario because Alberta was nothing. Investors were leaving. They all switched careers to IT and then moved to Ontario. I stayed. And by 2020, the break came, sweet break. And I started monitoring the economy. I started monitoring the policies of the UCP government. And I can tell you today, those 15 guys that left for Ontario, they are back to Alberta. People will come. And that's why Alberta's calling program is bringing more. Is bringing more. And more persons are coming. We can only make this change if you use your power. The biggest undoing we all have is having that power and not using it. And what is that power? Your vote. Very long conversation with Jason Luan, and I hosted him in my house, and I told him, get ready, because the people you will meet, they will kill you with questions. He can testify. And from that meeting, right now, three paperwork, 3 big blueprints are coming out. And I told him, I said, we have professionals among us, doctors, engineers who cannot work, who cannot practice because we are educated somewhere else. And from that conversation, he gave us a solution. That paper is coming out. He gave me the privilege of meeting the Premier. And when I spoke with the Premier for about 3 minutes, she said, we have done so much. There is so much more to do. The one again in to represent us because he's our voice. And the only way we can participate in government is when you become part of that voice. And that can only happen when you vote. I want you to take your time today, if you have not done so before, go back to the Alberta page and look at the UCP budget for Alberta. Anybody? Has anybody looked at the budget? Go look at the budget. I read through it and I tagged it differently. I don't know what they tagged it, but I tagged it the budget for everyday Alberta. In every single sphere that needs to be touched. And that's the government of representation you want. And that's what Jason Luan stands for. I'm not coming to tell you vote. No. I'm coming to tell you why you need your powers to be heard, why you need to exhibit, why you need to exercise your strength. We are so many in this community, and the question is why we're not being heard. The simple answer, you and I don't participate, and when we don't participate, we will never be heard. The time is now. We can only make the changes we want if we come out as a people to show support for the government, to show support for representation, to show support for Jason Luan, and we in turn get heard. One vote can make the difference, and that vote is your vote. But because I want a place where I can make a difference, but because I've proven that in this color there is superiority. Canada, Alberta, no, is when we have that voice. I have 2 votes today. How many votes do you have for Jason Luan? That's a question I want you to ask yourself every day. And every day it's my stand, it's my pledge. I will go out, speak to someone who doesn't understand the politics of Alberta, who doesn't understand why we need to be heard, and I will make them understand they have the powers to make the difference. And together, we can make the difference, elect Jason Luan again, and be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, brother, for asking. How many votes did you bring today? Yes, we're in this room. Ask each other, how many votes did you bring with you today that live in this neighborhood? By the way, sorry for coming late. This is a challenge of time and challenge of dealing with the most vulnerable and marginalized community. Sudanese community is one of the marginalized community here in Calgary, I would say. You here have the qualifications from diploma, degree, master's degree, and PhD. Mostly, the whole world stood up. And I ask again, how many are working in their fields? They all sat down. Honorable, this is a challenge we face as a community of Calgary, as a community of Alberta. Now, when we talk about having marginalized community, it's because of that reason. People that are qualified and they have no way to go through the employment that's needed, as my brother alluded to. Yes, some of these people came with their qualification in Sudan or Ethiopia or other part of East Africa. But some of them, most of them graduated from here in Canada. But still, they couldn't get jobs in their own field. For one, because they don't have networks. For two, the community do not have companies to hire them. So where do they go? Where do they go? And when the community fails, when these people they are hurt, okay? People waste their time going to school and they can't get jobs in their fields, what happens? They end up in robbing center. Do we want more? Is that helpful for the government? For more people to go through mental health and unemployment and become homeless because they don't have jobs and they don't have houses. This is a challenge for most of Black communities. We have a government that is working on empowering us. And our representative, Honorable Jason Luan, thank you for being our voice in the legislature. Thank you for representing us. Thank you for bringing us closer. Now, responsibility goes back to us. What do we need to keep Honorable Jason in his seat and to advocate for him, to keep in the cabinet so that we have voice even better for the next election? Are we ready to do it? Are we all ready to all door knock? How many of us here? Let's go door knock. Yes, brother. I came with 3 goods today. So we have organizations here that are representatives. Organizations that are delivering services and leaders that are delivering the services. The government needs to work with these leaders to deliver the right services so that more people do not go to homeless shelters and have no jobs. Like Umoja and other organizations, Kumkan supporting communities and organizations with research and providing the data for the African or Black communities. But there are no way to go through the root causes of issues that are affecting the communities here in Calgary or in Alberta. But these people, they have the power to go through the grassroots of the communities to deliver those services. What they need is the support to support the government so that the more people are hired, the more taxes we pay, right? That is helping the government. Okay? We don't want more people affected by mental health and go to shelter. We want them to work, empower them, address mental health, youth violence. These youth are our future. We need to help them. We need to mentor them, be a role model to them, connect with youth. And I've seen hands up. My time is up. But I'm passionate about what I'm talking about. So, thank you very much for coming. Let's do this for Jason. Let's do this for our voice in the legislature. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stephen, for giving me the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Let's do this. Let's do it.
And you can tell every single person that has come here is passionate about community building, is passionate about business, is passionate about, the future of our children. And we are fortunate we have somebody who is sympathetic to our cause. And we have today Minister Jason Luan. Like I said, I've known him since August of 2014. I thought when I moved to Calgary, he was hosting Aging in Place, if you remember. And I thought I was going to attend Aging in Place. I ended up organizing. From there, met great people. He's built great people around him. If you see his team, you marvel. And he has given me opportunities to meet people like Jim Prentice, Jason Kenny, and now, I'll be honest with you, Daniel Smith was not my favorite, but I'm getting to know her. she's amazing. He has given me opportunity to sit with them. So what am I saying? The people that are supporting us, let's support them. Thank you very much.
Taking precious time on weekend, come here to share your thoughts with me. And thank you to all the speakers, community leaders. You warm my heart. Many of the words that you speak is like music in my ear. I want to thank you. I feel like I've been adopted by our Calgary Black community because it is true that despite our color scheme is different, but a lot of what we share, even some of the journeys I went through, we have lots of commonality there. I want to thank Stephen Batiswa. He is joining our team, joined the Constituency director. Since day one, I met with him, produced such a positive image and a lovely person. He's one of those in my head. He contributed so generously, and then he has his heart in the community, and everything he does just inspired more of others follow. So it's like an angel from God sent somebody here, and through you, I met so many of others. Lots of things you talk about, you're speaking from your heart that echoes from what I know of. When we have a government that listens to our community, and when we have a government that positions our policy and the resources to be partners with community leaders and with community forces, we double, triple what we can do. I call that synergy. I see that in here, and I was at Ruth's house anniversary the other night. I don't know who was there, but there were lots of you were there. I shared the passion that when you have community coming together, when you try to solve the complex, difficult social issues, such as domestic violence, such as homelessness, poverty, and so on and forth, it's 10 times more effective when we have our own people try to relate and help than anybody else will come here to tell you how to change your life. So when one of the speakers said, when one of my friends needed a place to stay, we don't send them to government shelters. We send it to one of our own people, and then we solve the problem in the house. And they said, if we can prevent homeless in our own home, it's way better than going through the formal system. I stood up after that. I said, it is absolutely true. I can tell you that as a social worker, worked in so many years in that field, now as part of a cabinet that we wrestle with all those difficult decisions. I would love to say home in the home as a way to tackling our homeless issues. I can attest to you, if we do it that way, it will save government millions of dollars and much more effective that way. When I finished talking like that, we made a commitment. I was there, and the Minister of Housing and Community Social Services, Minister Nixon, was there. I stood up and said, I'm going to make sure the current funding that we have with Ruth's house, it was previously arranged through a third party, Sage House. They be the fiscal agent and then give it to Ruth's house. But I told people, I said, I observed the whole night, speaker after speaker, how well you use the community power to resolve some of the most difficult challenges here. I watched the community partners. Those are mainstream, well-organized, well-established leaders in the community, one after another, whether it's police, whether it's community services, whether it's the shelter providers, every one of them spoke so highly about this integrated, culture-sensitive approach of that. So I announced on the spot, we're going to change the contract arrangement. We're going to give $400,000 directly to Ruth's house as a commitment from my part. And that got lots of people stand. And listen to this, right after I finished that, Minister Nixon stood up. He was previously committed for $100,000 for 2 years. He said, I'm going to triple that. So the two of us, within that night, increased the funding from Roots House from where it used to be zero. Now we're talking about $700,000 will be in the hands of the people that we do the research. I said, Premier, that's not enough. As with the way you broadcast to the community, I'm already oversubscribed. So leave with me, I'm going to continue turn that joke into something tangible if we get re-elected coming forward. I firmly believe when government work together with communities, we create wonders. Many of the so-called difficult things we cannot solve by government or cannot solve by community alone. When we come together, solution comes within ourselves. So I am going, when time is right, we'll be asking for more dollars to this portfolio if I continue to have the privilege to serve on it. By the way, I had the privilege to serve for mental health addiction as the first assignment, then moved into community social services as second one. The third one is Minister of Culture. Let me tell you, I like my current one the most. I just need you to work with me that will change the system, will get it reflected, what I call fair representation. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jason, for those words. And I know they are powerful, but let's integrate and stop working in silos. The job at hand right now is to get Honorable Jason Gowan re-elected so that we continue to be insiders. But moving forward, maybe I'm being too ambitious. I would like for us to be really organized so that we are a voice to be heard. We can run in this constituency and say to our people, go out and vote for somebody who's sympathetic to our cause, and go to the next constituency. Anybody who is not sympathetic to our cause, we make sure they lose. I'm being harsh, but I'm being honest. Strategic engagement. But I can vouch for this man here. As you have seen, he is sympathetic to our cause. So we're going to be having question and answer time. If you have a question, I guess you can queue along this microphone. And
we heard here is, I tell people that the government is like a cow, you milk a cow, but now what I'm listening also you have to feed the cow, So there's one suggestion I have, everyone here, so for me I will volunteer to my young people as a volunteer because I know they are ambitious to be in the politics. I have one who co-hosted Why Whisper, okay, beside Dave Carey, just last week. And she did amazing. And they are in third year at university, so they live in Riding, so there you go. So anyone who has a young person in the house, please, okay? If we want the future of our community to be involved, I think that's how we start.
Co-director, Attractors Surveyor Secret. And when I started up my business, I had no information about how to get funds. So I would want to ask, starting up a business, black-owned, small, how do we get funding? And how do we scale up production? And how do we sustain the business?
Okay, good question. Small business owners have lots of needs, and I can tell you this, for UCP government, almost virtually every one of my colleagues are big fans for small business owners. We're the strongest voice for you. We fight so much about policy change to make sure that you have the least tax burden on your shoulders, and we reduce the red tape so that you have the least government regulations that is not really relevant but make running business difficult. Generally speaking, our conservative government, we don't get into the business of tell people how to be successful on your business. We know that is a market will decide, and entrepreneurs, they know the best how to make money. We get out of the way. We have a small burden to your shoulder. We create an environment. You are free to do so many things, and you explore that, and then hopefully you find your success. So I hope those pieces connect to you.
Yeah, the areas that have been impacted by the UCP government is the healthcare delivery system in Alberta.
Just say, verify that I understand your question right. So the question is, you're concerned nurses and healthcare workers are leaving the province, and what are we doing to correct that? Okay.
Out of UHS, out of the government service.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. We wrestled this very, very hard many times. So, fact number one is we're currently experiencing a global shortage of healthcare workers. It's largely because the sustained COVID crisis that almost made virtually every province, every country that exhausted their healthcare resources. So we're competing globally how we have more coming to here. The second one is we're taking concrete steps to find creative ways how in this global competition we find more to healthcare workers come to us. Unlike what NDP has proclaimed that we're having more doctors left the province, the truth is the net number of doctors coming to Alberta is more than those who choose to leave. That's a fact. The reason we did that is multiple focus. Not only we made things easier for them, but also our pay level is much higher compared to BC and other provinces. And this is what we call Alberta Advantage, because our economy, we're running as the top of the line here, leading the country. Our taxes are lowest, and the net gain for most professions, Alberta's earning power is way higher than other parts. Third, listen to this one. We had even gone to some very unconventional approaches. We went to Philippines, directly negotiated with them. Because their language is a lot more ready for newcomers from Philippines with a nurse background that can come here, get to work right away. So there's a special agreement negotiated that will directly import from nurses from Filipino, come to Alberta, work directly for Alberta Health Services. Fourth one, you heard this saying from Travis Taves when he was running for leadership, but Premier Smith adopted this. Is we're quickly recognize foreign professionals who have healthcare credentials behind them. So for those who are working here and those who are coming here, we're not going to make you to jump the hoops as many have done in the past in order to get you to work. So we're going to give rapid exemption processes to make sure we have the supply of healthcare workers here. And that is happening.
What are the practical ways you aim to increase young adult engagement in policy making?
Well, having you join us is step one. I was door knocking this morning before I came here. That's why I dressed casual. I have over 25 youth. They're from grade 9 and grade 7 to grade 11. They came to my campaign office, volunteered to learn how to be part of this and how to do telephone canvas. Let me tell you this, I couldn't be more happier because opposition critique us to say UCP only attract old guys, not so old, and young people don't support UCP. I disagree with that. I think a lot part because people, when they're young, they're still at a stage of schooling, looking for jobs, not established yet, where your interest is mostly about lower down fees and give me more subsidized, and therefore I can get a better opportunity. I'm 100% for that. But what's happening is when you started to establish yourself, you have a job, you have family, you're managing your own finance, and then you realize, shoot, if the government only think every day how to share more benefits, never have a plan how to grow the economy, to grow the pie, eventually that promise of low fees here and more subsidized there is going to be an empty promise because you have no supply, no money to do that. And then they realize, I don't like that NDP thinking anymore. So my message to you is welcome, become involved, having your voice stand, and be part of it. I'm looking forward, and Lee will know this, I'm looking forward to bringing young people into my offices, bring young people into the political realm of being part of that. Because the more you're involved, the more you will see the opportunities available, the more you have your voice put into it, then the more opportunities that created for our young people. And I'm 100% with you, I need more of you. Come and join me, door knocking too.
They're amazing. There are 25 kids, maybe 900 phone calls this morning starting from 10 o'clock by the time we come over here. So they really need your encouragement, and we're also looking forward to more supporters. If you have anyone in your home who would like to join our youth volunteer team, feel free to join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have two questions, if you permit me. One is, we know that your ministry covers film, movies, and entertainment. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. You see me wearing, this is a hoodie we got for the premiere of a movie that was done by a black Canadian. Yeah. And he happens to be here. Ima, can you come up? I want him to come up.
You guys can do to make it easier, because the process is tough, and I had to sit down for almost a year to read through, to learn how to do this myself, and I was able to do it eventually, but it's still tough, to get that agreement.
Yeah. So one of the beauty, the system is set up in a way that you have elected official like me have the position. We can tell the ministry to change what they do. Is when I hear from grassroots, from the real trenches, how people are experiencing this, is different when I get a briefing report from a ministry. Oftentimes on paper it sounds terrific, but in reality it's not the case. So this is where my job comes in. We have the ability to redirect what they do and change the process so that people like you are going to tell me what we are intended to do and what you're actually experiencing is the same. Because I can tell you oftentimes there is a discrepancy there. So you have my words. As long as things works its way, I will leave them alone. If it's not, you will see me having the push that I need to do to make it happen.
They come from a diverse population, right? From the Caribbean, East Africa, Southern Africa. So, would it be sensible to say all these patients who come from a diverse population have to be served maybe by health professionals who comes from a specific country?
Yeah. Good question. It's an issue that I personally got involved fighting for that years ago. Before I stepped into politics, I used to be co-chair of Immigrant Sector Council in Calgary. And you will know here in Canada, each professional associations, whether it's teacher, nurse, doctor, you name it, they have their own professional association. Through their college, they regulate what's the criteria, standard that each is reinforced. Engineers having the same. So for government to come in to tell them what you need to do, it's so difficult because every one of them have their own criteria, if you may say that. Under our government, we established a new office called Newcomers Fairness Advocate Office. And the way he changed the game is no longer that you are fighting with your own profession as an individual, because oftentimes when you're new here, you don't know much about it, you're trying to get into it, you don't even know who am I going to fight with and say and do nothing. But by having this office, what we want to change the dynamic is no longer you're fighting by yourself. So if you felt like your credential is not fairly treated, recognized, they don't give you the credit that you so deserve, you go to this newcomers fairness advocacy office, we give funding to, they advocate on your behalf. So now it's between almost a government-funded agency fighting on your behalf to your profession to say, you should be doing this. This has created unfair barriers for them to be recognized, to give them lessons. Call this office, we call Newcomers Fairness Advocacy Office, and let them help you get through your case. And do whatever we can for the time we have left. And if we get re-elected, we have 4 more years to fix it, to get it all right.
UOMJ, which is, it has 600 kids, youth programs, and then we're trying to actually expand it more for newcomers when they come here. They basically get lost for the coming 3 years because there's no orientation workshops and so on. My question to you is, the OMJ agency, they got collected from different nationality, is making a lot of big difference, which is its impact in Calgary. If you notice, a lot of youth, a lot of gangs, because of his program, we have been successful, he's been successful. We want to expand it more. You in power right now, you have that brand, of course. A lot of politicians, they promise a lot, you know it. And then of course, after the fact, after the election, things change. So at this point, you since you have a power, would you be able to invest in domestic violence prevention and newcomers youth for his agency? Like,
so the answer is yes.
To confirm, this is great because you know why? A lot of 600 plus, how many parents you're actually reaching out?
But with my past time as a social worker, worked in the youth sector, when we have a mentorship, when we have sports, when we have activities that is of their interest, but we have role models to show them how to express yourself, how to handle differences, how to be a self-confident person. It goes miles for their outcomes, and then they avoid those other traps, which is costly for themselves and for our society. So if you're interested in playing that 8 million is going to help lots of doors that you have opportunity to apply for funding for.
Well, this is the first time I'm actually getting from politicians, they agree right on the spot. Yes, we're going to commend this. So, of course, hands up for Jason. Thank you very much.
I do want to put a caution, just so you all understand. When I say I support you, it's the same I said to my Chinese friend and other friends. We're not supporting you to do anything different. We're supporting you to have a fair, transparent opportunity to compete. Because for the programs that I support, I tell everybody, you have to meet the criteria. If you don't meet the criteria, you say, Minister, can you help me? I say, sorry, I can't. Because we need to be fair, transparent to all. For the most part, from what I experience is, for folks like you and the others, we come in as the minority group. We don't know all those things available. Like the program I mentioned, I can almost assert it to you. If I don't say it to you today, you wouldn't have a clue it's existed. So we are short of fair chances for competition. All I needed to do is make those available. You can compete. In the end of the day, statistics will work. You know, every time you try it one more time, your chances of succeed doubles because so many others haven't even do what you have done. So that's the part I want to be very realistic. Not because you know me, your program will be guaranteed to succeed. You guaranteed for a fair competition. Depending on who is there competing with you, perhaps you'll get it this round, they will get it next round. It's a fair chance, like a sports tournament. We go, we put our best out there. If we got a champion, great. If not, we'll compete with you again next time. So that's what I want to leave it to you. Okay? Thanks.
I'm one of those that started a very exclusive sports, which is golf. Back 10 years ago, thereabout. It's a very good avenue to make sure that we don't have kids going for social work or having mental issues. I myself is an example. I play a lot of sports. I was brought up in Nigeria, but I've been to almost 25 countries in Africa. I lived in Sudan. I know what I saw. From there, I went to Ethiopia, Rwanda, Uganda. I lived in Angola for 2 years. But I can tell you, on every street in Rwanda, you have a basketball. Every street, maybe less than 200-300 meters. Angola was one of the best in basketball at some point. When I moved to Congo, I didn't see that. What do you see? What did I see? I saw my friends, because every black boy is my son, even though I'm still young. And I guarantee you what they do is that they gang up and commit this element of indiscipline. So what will be your office today game changer in increasing sports allocation or allocation to sports among the black nations in Calgary? That's one question.
Great question. I love it. Okay. Let me try to address both questions. Thank you for that. The first question, it's going to be a question I'm going to challenge my officials, my ministry. I'll share with you some early conversations already. When I advocated, we have $8 million put aside. This is brand new money. This is on top of last year's base budget. I went to the wall to convince all my colleagues in Treasury Board that I need this money. But when we decide how this money will be allocated, the early recommendation is it goes to lots of existing big organizations, sports associations, and so on and forth. I didn't like that. And yeah, that's what it brought me. I said, I can appreciate, we currently have all those bodies to do this. It's an easy way to get the money through them. But where it's lacking is this money don't connect with my parents, with the people, like I'm thinking about you guys. Stephen have mentioned to me many times, what can we do to have sports activities so that our youth is interested, have arts opportunities so our young kids are interested. When you engage them in such positive activities, this is where we build their strengths. This is where prevent them from getting to the other side of the track. So I challenged my department. I says, bring me some more options to consider. I want parents can see this new dollar we allocated for, they have room to play. So in the end of that discussion, they bring me back. It might be a much balanced structure. There will be a portion of the money goes through the provincial sports organization that can quickly access to existing facilities. So there will be fee reductions so that more people can get into it. I get it. But then I asked for another portion of money available for folks like you folks. You see, I want to have a Arbor Lake Black Kids basketball team, as a group to do this. Therefore, I'm going to apply the grant. I will operate the program. I want to create opportunities that grant is open for people like that. So I'm not even kidding. When Stephen says, I need help from you guys to spend the money, I need to see you guys put your proposals into this, and you're doing it in a way that is meaningful for our kids. And therefore, we spend money meaningfully. Your second question about how can we help our youth to get job opportunities. So I can, through my office, I can send you some more information that way. The budget 2023 specifically targeted that part. How can we invest certain training and education program that can shorten the gap from where people are unemployed to where we have the high-paying jobs there, but the skill set is not there. Does that make sense? Okay, thank you very much.
My question comes in two parts. So the first one, I just wanted to know, what does your office have in terms of some funding for mental health? Because I know mental health is still a stigma, especially among Black people, and a lot of Black young people and even older people, they don't really speak about this, but also if there's no funding, or it's not easy for them to come and speak about it. So I just wanted to know, is there a way that your office is organizing or have grants for Black young people so their mental health issues can be addressed? And secondly, the other question is on healthcare. Healthcare is a big thing to me because I'm one of the healthcare workers. So I understand we are bringing nurses from the Philippines, which is good because we need nurses. We are really short. Now, what is your government doing to retain the nurses that are already working? Because it doesn't matter how many we bring if we cannot retain the ones that are already working. That some of us went through COVID, working through COVID. Even when everything was on lockdown, we were still out there. Even when we were drowning, we were still out there. What is your government doing to retain us so we don't leave? Because the burnout is real. And honestly, if you ask any healthcare worker, they will tell you, if it was not a calling from God, they will just quit. Yeah, so what are you doing to retain us?
I'm fortunate to serve under mental health and addiction as my first cabinet post. Yes, with mental health, particularly during COVID, has accelerated the degree of people suffering from that. Lots of people, the immediate thinking of mental health issues is that I go to see a psychiatrist or chartered psychologist as a solution. Yes, those professional guided medical intervention is needed, but not for all. That's one of the reasons when I was the ministry there, I championed the $53 million Made in Alberta mental health strategy that is focused on community involvement. Aside from health, the health professionals intervention, we're tapping into community's power. What can we help each other to alleviate the isolation that caused to extreme degrees of anxiety, depression, a whole bunch of other stuff. Let me tell you this, when we rolled out a 53 million action plan, we were the largest in the country, and through that, I don't know how many of you, but over 500 nonprofit organizations across the province got the money that way. Thank you. And I went, some of the recipients, even myself, like they're making phone calls to seniors, they're enabled to visit, but through online conversations, you shortened their problem for isolation and increase a bit of connection. So there are many, many so-called untraditional, non-medical interventions has occurred, has made a difference for that. We're not done that yet. One of the reasons in my current portfolio, if you follow the stories, we increased community grant funding by 17%. So community initiative program will be very similar to what I championed for that 53 million under mental health. But the difference this time is I made it a directional change, is when you apply for CIP Community Initiative Program, traditionally you can apply for any reason, whether it's sports, recreation, whether it's addressing mental health issues, whether it's addressing youth and the self-confidence and self-esteem program. You can do any of those. But I made one particular request. I said, given the predominant mental health needs that every section of the population is talking about, given we're still in a recovering stage from pandemic, I want to make sure our CIP grant have a priority. If applications touches into mental health, give them some priorities for consideration. So that is going to be a slightly different way of moving forward in the coming year. With additional money in, I'd love to see a lot more creative ways how community can help each other, how we can utilize our own strengths within our power and influence within us to make a difference. So I'm looking forward to see increased support in that way. The second question about healthcare, nurse and others, let me begin by saying thank you so much for you guys for keeping the choice. With COVID, with an unprecedented health crisis we have, you and others, including my daughter is a doctor herself, you have held the burden that maintain our system and treat our patients, including my parents that have been through this several rounds. I have first-hand knowledge that when we place ourselves in your care, you guys provide nothing but the best. And thank you so much for what you do. We don't support you guys. We support you with everything we can. Even the contract we negotiated with nurses, you know, in the end of the day, we had an agreement. There's no protest. There's no, breakdown of our communication and negotiation and aim. We settled on a mutual agreement, and in one hand, we cannot offer the 9%, 12% that initial ask was, because if we go that route, we did the calculation, even if we don't change anything, we just keep going in the NDP's policy, even when the oil price is $120 per barrel, we will still be $6 million deficit. So we did a conscious decision that we cannot go that far, but we'll meet you in the middle. I think we settled on 3 and 3.5 as agreement, so that we recognize the support you needed, but we're also be practical what our ongoing funding can be. That when we have the money we have in our hand, we can improve our quality of life, just like what we did with the inflation relief. So you have my support and my commitment. If we maintain this economic prosperity pathway, which we're fully confident it will be if we maintain the UCP government, we'll have a lot more money in the bank to look at how we can further improve healthcare, education, and social service, and so on and forth. So that is a very different approach, how we approach this, versus to the NDP version of this, is keep spending, keep promising you, will give you high promises and high salary, but at the end of the day, we have no money to give it to you. We either borrow or we tax you even more. In the end of the day, it's a bankruptcy pathway. So I don't want to go there. I don't believe you can sustain that. But this other approach we're doing, we're committed to make real changes in our life, including for you, for nurses.
Every weekend is out there door knocking. He set it aside to come and be with us. And this wouldn't have been successful if it wasn't for, I shared the vision with Jean-Claude. And Jean-Claude is a community builder who's connected. He reached out, worked with Koto, David Lloyd, Neil, Michael Dickel-Merriam, and Michael, I don't know the last name of Michael, I need to get it. I just say the other Michael. Michael, what's your last name? Tafara, okay, I won't forget that. It means to be happy in my language, so I won't forget that. And if you're Carol, and did I miss anybody? Yes. Ooh. Yes, and I want to thank Pastor Nai for making the brochure that we were inviting people. We thank you very much for doing that for us. And I want to thank Byron and all the white folk. I joke around with them, they're my friends, they're very supportive. And what is the end of the matter? We are here, baby step number 1. Let's make sure our guy here, sorry I can say our guy here, we go a long way. Honorable Jason Luan.
I like my guy.
Yes, let's make sure we do what we can. People that are in the community, spread the word. Let's go out, let's vote for him. Let's make sure he wins so that we get access to that 300 million, right? And more, but this is short term. In the long term, here's the deal. I want to be sitting next to somebody who looks like me.
Yes, absolutely. And there are 4 candidates there.
Yes, I see it there. How do we get there? Let's come, let's volunteer, let's learn from somebody who is there. And we want to run with this again. I might be too ambitious, but we want to do this in every constituency. Let's be strategic. Let's identify the ministers or the current MLAs that we want to target next, so that we can impact. Because if Minister Luan wins alone, the NDP comes. We need at least 5 more, just by the states, 5 more constituencies in Calgary here, so that we can retain the current leadership. And this is short term. Long term, at the risk of repeating myself, I want to see more people like me in the positions of power. I want to see more people like me in business. I want to see more people like Masha here getting support in the mental health delivery without worrying about sources of income. I want to see more kids prospering in the business arena, in the political arena, in the sports arena, in any space in this country. How do we get there? Let's work together. Thank you very much again.